Hi, my name is Persephone, and this is Persephone's Board Game Reviews. If you've ever been on the World Wide Webs, at some point you've probably seen someone ask, which Catan expansion should I buy? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm referring to expansions made for the insanely popular modern board game called Settlers of Catan. Now, unfortunately, the very brave people who like to answer these kinds of questions on the internet can rarely come with one solid, concise answer about which expansion is the best. And I think it's because the four main expansions for Catan are all pretty fun, and whichever one is best purely depends on your personality. So in this video, I'm going to try to recommend a game based on each personality type. And meanwhile, you're going to keep watching because you've already made up your mind about which one you think is best, and you want to see if I've come up with the right answer. Okay, I have the first expansion all set up for you. It's called Catan Seafarers, and this is what it looks like. I think off the bat, it's important to note that if you're the kind of person who really doesn't want to spend an extra 15 minutes setting up your Catan game, then this might not be the expansion for you. That said, it probably has the smallest scope of any of the expansions. You're really just adding more pieces to the game, water to the game, and boats so that you have more opportunities to build. But it takes longer to set up the board when you do that. A lot of people have said that this game is so simple that it really should just belong in the base game. And there's this interesting rumor on the internet that the base game did include seafarers until the publishers asked Klaus Teuber to simplify the game, and then he took out the boats and he made seafarers. As you can see, to get to the islands, you build boats, which are basically roads. If you don't like Catan and you're hoping to buy an expansion that will change the game, this is probably not the expansion for you, because it really doesn't change the core game. The game is still about trading and expanding your area by building tons of stuff, and Seafarers doesn't change the trading. And it adds way more space to build, so you end up building way more roads and boats, and that makes the game about 15 minutes longer. If you love Catan, and the reason you keep coming back for it is the trading, then this is the expansion for you, because every other expansion adds elements that make trading with other players less important. I love this expansion most because I love trading. The second expansion that was released was Cities and Knights. Cities and Knights adds a ton of mechanics to the game that makes Catan feel very different. Serious board gamers on the internet are always saying that this is the best expansion because they say it adds a lot of depth and complexity to Catan, and I think that's definitely true. I think if you consider yourself to be a serious board gamer, then this might be the expansion for you. Many of the elements that Cities and Knights adds are very cutthroat. If you're an aggressive, competitive board gamer, this really might be the right expansion for you. For example, every few turns an event occurs where barbarians come and raid the island. If you haven't contributed enough of your resources to defending Catan, you lose a city. If this occurs early in the game, you probably can't win. When I lose a city early in the game, I try so hard to catch up that I can't participate in the other mechanics. And that is one thing I really don't like about this expansion. It's really a shame because there are tons of new cards that replace the old development cards. For example, one card lets you attack your opponents by swapping 2 number tokens on the board. Of course, the people who are in the lead are going to have the most ability to take these actions. So if you're behind, enjoy having all of your good numbers taken away. Good numbers. There are too many other mechanics to explain here. Like, there are some more types of resources. Of course, you need cities to get them, so if you're behind, you'll never see them anyways, so don't worry about these. I like to think of Cities and Knights as like a twisted version of Mario Kart, where the person in first place gets infinite red shells, and the person in the last place automatically moves slower. Okay, Lenore, did you know that the last 2 expansions I talked about were the main 2 expansions that the maker of Catan, Klaus Teuber, wanted to make? After those 2, there was a long gap where there were no expansions. And then he took a bunch of ideas and little expansions that he thought up over the years and put them all together and released Traders and Barbarians, or as we like to call it, the Purple Box, huh? The Purple Box. And oh my gosh, Lenore, there is a ton of stuff in this box. If you're a board game collector who can't resist a game with a metric ton of pieces, this might be the one for you. The Purple Box is 5 scenarios, which are like 5 mini expansions to Catan. Some of them are not so interesting, like the Rivers of Catan scenario, which is a scenario that my friends and I don't really enjoy and never play. And some of them are really well designed, like in one scenario called Traders and Barbarians, you move wagons around the board to deliver goods, and they travel better on the roads. If another player uses your roads to travel, then you take their money. And this creates an interesting strategy because in basic Catan, you really only build roads to build more settlements. But in this scenario, roads have more meaning. Another one of the expansions is Fishermen of Catan. And everybody loves the Fishermen of Catan expansion because building on water earns you fish, and the fish can be sold to the bank for rewards or traded to the other players. I have never heard of a single person ever not liking this scenario. It's so fun. The downside of the Purple Box is if you're looking for an expansion to play again and again for months, this is probably not the one you want, because while the scenarios are definitely really cool and neat, they're not that depthy. Also, if your friends really hate learning rules, that's another reason to not get a game with 5 sets of rules. There are a lot of Catan fans who take every expansion they own and then mix them all together to make a crazy hodgepodge Catan game that takes like all afternoon to finish. And I think those people are crazy. Although I mix Seafarers into every Catan game I play, regardless of what expansion I'm using. But if you are really into an ultra complicated game of Catan with a sprawling board and a lot going on, then Explorers and Pirates might be the expansion for you. Explorers and Pirates is huge, and I'd say it's barely even Catan. I think they shouldn't have even bothered to make this a Catan expansion. It might as well have been an entirely new board game. I mean, look how big it is. The main thing the expansion adds is this gigantic ocean. You still start on the island, but building on the island is not very important. You want to build boats, which you move every turn so that you can start exploring. First, you add pirate coves that you can conquer. Next time you play, the ocean gets a bit bigger, and you add a fishing hole, which adds some really cool area control gameplay. Then you make it even bigger and add spice villages, which let you upgrade your boats. These 3 scenarios interact really well with each other in clever ways, so playing with all 3 scenarios at once definitely works well, but it is very intense and it takes a while. Even I'm not hardcore enough to play with all 3 at once. It's hard to know if you're going to like Explorers and Pirates or not because it's just so different from Catan. You rarely trade, and building cities is completely gone. If you love the trading in Catan, you might not really like this expansion, or maybe you will, who knows? I love trading, but I love this expansion. Oh, one more thing about Explorers and Pirates. It's the only way to play Catan with just 2 players in a way that actually works. And it works really well since trading isn't important anymore. In fact, the turns can take a while in Explorers and Pirates, so playing with 2 players has the benefits of not having to wait that long for your turn. And my turn is my favorite part of every game. So here we are, closing thoughts. Like I said earlier, Seafarers is my favorite expansion. I love trading, and I love how you can change the board around. I've played Seafarers hundreds of times, and I just never get sick of it because trading never gets old. Oh, by the way, here's a little prank you can play on your friends next time you play Catan. So if someone says, hey, I'd like to make a trade, you say, sure, I'll make that trade, and then you hand them a face-down copy of whatever they handed you instead of what they wanted, and they'll turn it over and realize that you got them, and they'll say, hey, stop that! It works every time. Thank you.